thank you all so much for attending the QBS MSP webinar. This time round, we've got Altaro, and we're going to go through all the different methods in which backup can be one hell of a lot bigger earner than what you first might have thought. We've spoken to many MSPs over the years, and one of the things that we notice is it is one of those types of products that customers, MSPs sell as and when they're asked of it. So this is more angled towards how to be a little bit more proactive, make it a core earner for you rather than a bit of a side earner. And we've also got some feedback to go through when it comes to, we actually asked MSPs what they thought regarding struggles that they have and also different methods in which they can sell this. We've got Keith on board to give us the technical details and also go through a little bit of a showcase demo for us just to give a highlight of Altaro and everything that it brings to the party. And we've also got lovely John, who is the Managing Director of Refresh IT, which is a company based in Huddersfield. They are absolutely flying at the moment, and Altaro is one of their pinpoint products that they do to grow. Okay, so just to see, obviously you can see the host here. It is going to be a bit of a freeway. It is light-hearted. So feel free, if you guys have got any questions, just pop it in the chat. We'll see to it as and when, and we'll answer it as and when as well. And there's going to be questions at the end. As you can tell with my picture and my video, it's heavily photoshopped. So the person that you see in the picture, unfortunately, this is what you get when you see me waving.
Pre-lockdown.
Yeah, that's it. Before lockdown, I probably was about 2 stone lighter like the rest of the UK, so it's taken its toll. But yeah, so just the house rules, just so you all know. Everyone, obviously, as you're already aware, is going to be muted. Questions, just reach out, put it in the chat. Just make sure in the chat you put it to everybody. Just because if John or Keith picks up on it as well, and you may find, which is a lot of the situations in these type of webinars, the question you want to ask is also something else that somebody else wants to know as well. So it just gives you an opportunity to make sure you're not all asking the same thing at the same time. Yeah, so let's get started. Basically, we're going to go through different scenarios. This has come from another Altaro webinar that these guys did direct when it comes internal, and they found out that a lot of people still see backup as as a luxury rather than an essential, but actually it's the other way around. 40% of SMEs do not back up their data at all. 40 to 50% have backups that aren't fully recoverable, and I'm sure you guys, and John, you've probably noticed that if you've spoken to someone from another company who uses a different like IT MSP, you've probably noticed when you're winning some business over, you see some pretty spooky setups.
Yeah, that 40% no backup is possibly a little bit low. And I reckon about 50% of backups that I come across don't work. And even when you've got ones that partially work, you're lucky to get maybe 25% of them that you can restore quickly, easily, and make sure everything's running in a short amount of time. So yeah, backups is a key area for us.
And Keith, from your point of view, is there anything else that you see in this slide that you really, that worries you, or do you see it as an opportunity, or do you see it as
No, I will cover this off when I talk about it, but the problem is it's apathy towards backup. Backup is a very old technology, and therefore it gets sidelined because it's like, just back up, and they don't understand the importance of it, and the fact that it's actually part of your security offering that you offer to your end user. Because at the end of the day, you will spend a lot of money as a partner putting in very expensive firewalls and defense mechanisms and this, but at the end of the day, they will fail for one reason or another, and that could be accidental human blah, blah, blah. But the key thing is that if it all goes horribly wrong, the only thing to get the data back is your backup.
Yeah, that is very true. And that's the reason why we asked a lot of MSPs what they actually thought. So many MSPs struggle. They have all the knowledge when it comes to why a customer would need this, but sometimes they do struggle to actually portray that message onto the end users. And we actually did a survey where we asked 70 MSPs, what do you struggle with? What's holding you back? And we'll go through some of the examples, the most common ones that we're seeing. And towards the end, we've also got the solutions that other people are doing as well, just to make sure that they have got the success and the little different methods that they're trying. So when it comes to the first two, first one's obvious. There's too many products out there. They all seem to do the same thing. This is one of the most common objections, if you want to clarify it like that, that so many customers say, and we all know it's a very highly complicated world. It reminds me of the Office 365 world and how many people have got their toes dipped into that as well. So this is another opportunity. And Keith, obviously, you represent Altaro. What would you say to that when it comes to why they should choose you over any other type of competitor out there?
Two simple lines is the way we run our support mechanism and the products is designed for the SMB marketplace, and by doing that, by default, is simple to use. And what that simplicity does is it reduces cost within your business base. Because if you're having to spend 5, 10, 20,000 pounds getting somebody trained, A, they're out of your business, B, they're not earning for you, and C, it's costing you money.
Yeah, no, that's true. And even with the second one, like I can't be bothered with different portals for everything. Like John, you've tested how many products over the years, and I know I've known you for a long time.
You go through live testing them, and you generally have a section of customers on one portal, then a few on another one, and then there's the one that you're testing out that you're moving to, and it's difficult. You don't have any standardization, so your lads, when they're working on tickets and stuff like that, it's like, which portal are we in, and it just slows you down. You lose efficiency.
Yeah.
So from an MSP perspective, sticking it all in one supply and one portal really makes sense.
Yeah, and do you find of the products that you like obviously distribute, not just in backup, I mean in general to your offering to your customers, do you find that if it is complicated, it puts you off?
Yeah, there's a learning curve. I've got to learn it. The lads have to learn it. We have to implement it, and it's not just learning a product to stick out there. It's learning your own set of best practices and rules and your standard procedures, so that every customer, when we set it up this way in this manner, and it takes time to do that. So you get down trying these different products out, and when they're complex, you don't have time because your day job. You don't have time to learn all the ins and outs of every single product. That's the difficulty.
No, it is true, and that's one of the reasons as well. That one of the common feedbacks that we get is there's a lot of products which involve very heavy engineering or training processes in place, and some of the softwares out there, actually you need to commit to a certain amount of time with them, either contractually or just as a goodwill gesture to them in order to achieve certificates and things like that. The time of like those days are gone now. MSPs, especially from my experience, all they ever want to do is just have a click and play solution where everything's done for them and they have no headaches. Like obviously, John, I know I'm not going to give you any. I don't want you to name any products which have given you headaches, but often at fault, the product isn't the actual issue, it's the actual processes behind it. That's the key. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, you've got to develop your own processes. If you're running a business and you're covering many customers' backups, and backups is just one area, you have to develop processes around each of those tools that you use. You have to develop processes for quality control, for checking that everything's right, for alerting, responding to alerts. And so learning the software is often only part of it. You've got to learn all the stuff to go with it. So the more complicated it is, the more settings and options there are that you've got to filter through to try and shortlist yourself a standard setup that fits maybe 85-90% of your customers. So having a simple and easy to learn product, it takes away a lot of setup time. So yeah, that's one thing that I found.
It's also as well, it more often than not, it's the case that it's much easier to sell when it's a simple solution as well. Like we've had products over the years where they've been unnecessarily complicated and so powerful that it just gets dismissed because it's just too intense for day-to-day use. And it is interesting to see how like the landscape is changing a little bit when it comes to backup and also other softwares as well. Now, pricing, obviously, with Keith, I'm going to go on to the pricing in a bit later, but I'm sure from your perspective, especially dealing with Altaro for such a long time, you come up with a lot of other competitor prices, and like how much do you justify that the price is the main concern? Is it the backup that they are particularly more bothered about, or is it the actual price, or is it a fine line?
It's a combination, and it's a very difficult one to answer when it comes to pricing. It's one of those situations. If people understand where they can earn the money, the pricing is less as important. I'll cover that when I do the presentation with regards to how you actually make money with our product. But then if you start talking about, so you start to look at differentiators and how easy to use. So it's not just this product is £1.50 and this product is £2. It's actually the associated costs that go with it in the back end. So is there training? Is there this? Is there that? Is there that? And they're the soft costs that a lot of people, they look at the headline and go, I'm not interested in that because it's too expensive. But then you look at the soft costs behind and then suddenly go, oh, Jesus Christ, I've got to spend 10 grand getting somebody trained.
Yeah, I know, but it is actually weird when you look at that. It does flip on its head a little bit. And it's just food for thought, because so many decisions are price obviously driven, but when you do take into consideration the work that's needed in the background, it doesn't half complicate matters. And that just brings me on. Obviously, life doesn't have to be complicated. Oh, we have got a chat.
I've answered it.
So we've had actually a question. So Keith, this is one to you. Do you provide white labeled or co-brandable marketing material?
So marketing materials, yes. White label for the product, no.
Okay.
And the reason we can't white label the product is that actually the product's actually hard coded, and it was a mistake we made. I'll be very honest, it was a mistake we made right at the beginning. But the marketing materials, yeah, we've got loads of brandable stuff that you can get out and you can use. That's available through QBS, but the product itself you cannot white label at the moment. There is plans to do it, but unfortunately we've got a list of things we want to do before we get to white labeling.
Yep, no, that's fine. And just moving on from that, obviously, the complications, is one of the main key concerns from a lot of our MSPs. The fact that the system and the pricing, more often than not, become the two main factors of whether or not an MSP goes ahead with it or doesn't. And also, like we've said as well, training costs. It's very good to sign up to a product that only costs you a penny, but if you're going to spend 10, 20 grand on actual training on the solution and certificates and renewal of certificates, which I've started to see creep in as well, that you have to pay for, it can get quite monotonous quite easily. So this is just a few things of how Altaro specifically simplifies no matter when it comes to the complicated side of backup. Just more information now. I'm sure you've all seen this. It took 4 weeks to get back to me and I had to chase 3 times. Sometimes that's more extreme. Sometimes the time scale's smaller, but you've chased 7 times. We all know companies out there that have absolutely driven a large thorn in your side, and it's painful to deal with. Personally, from us, we've dealt with quite a few overseas vendors over time, and we do know that the support that they get from the UK is completely different than other countries, both good and bad. So with the support element, Keith, this is something that you know like the back of your hand. Altaro stand on support so highly. Can you just go through what your process is and how it's escalated and what?
So to try and give you some background to it, the example I use, we have chats pre-built into the products, all of the products. We don't run gatekeepers, and at the moment, I have to sit there and make an announcement to you guys that our support is at the moment about 50% down on answering calls where it should be. Because at the moment, we're answering calls in about 15 seconds where we should be at 10 seconds. That's our difference.
Yeah.
And you don't get a gatekeeper, you don't get a bot, you don't get, well, they're not bots, but sometimes you think you're talking to a bot just because they're support people. But they're all very matter of fact. But at the end of the day, we stand with the commitment that you get through to an engineer, not a gatekeeper. Our SLA states you will get through to somebody that you will be able to deal with your call, that will handle your call from cradle to grave. We don't escalate because the guys do not need to be escalated because they're all trained engineers. And I will show you this when I go through it. But if you have a problem with our support, and like any company, any human being, sometimes there are problems. You don't come to me, you don't come to QBS, you go straight to our CEO, and I will give you the CEO's email address, and he will deal with your complaint directly. He doesn't get any, well, he gets them once in a blue moon, and when he does, he jumps on them like a hot potato. That's our support. That's what we commit to you guys. And you'll find, hopefully, John, that you've never, well, if you had to deal with support, you've had that experience from us.
I've never had to call you. It just works.
That's as simple as you can make it, John, isn't it? and obviously, John, you've had other products which I know have caused you headaches and massive nightmares. Like, is it, once again, I'm guessing it's a deciding factor. Is that something?
We had a Datto that took 3 months and 2 hardware replacements to get working. And okay, they give us a refund for the 3 months of service we paid for. But that's what if there'd been a failure during that time?
Yeah.
One of my largest customers would have been in severe trouble. We'd have lost the customer. It would have cost us money. It would have just been a nightmare all around. You need stuff that just works. That's one of the things that I brought in recently. We don't have products now that don't just work. If we're getting problems with them, we need to change them. And this does. It works.
And like, John, this is more for you. Like, obviously, when you're looking at a new product, how do you justify what the support's going to be like before you sign up to a product? Because unfortunately, what I see is a lot of MSPs, once they've signed up, that's when they realise that they're in a contract that the support is poor, and they feel like they can't go anywhere. Like, have you got any rules or protocols or like little?
Really tough subject. Firstly, you look at the quality of the product, and you look for holes in it, and you look for bits that don't look right. And if it's a bit rough around the edges, if it looks a bit dated, the chances are the support's not going to be that good. If you've got a nice looking product like Altaro, you can take a good punt at it, and it is just like finger in the air, but you can take a punt at it because it looks nice, it's well cared for, that they'll look after you. Also trial it, make sure you try it out, you run it through its paces, and try and make it have problems, because the only way to test the support is to test the support. It's like backups. If you don't test that your backups will restore, there's no point backing them up. And if you don't test the support of a product, then what's the point of having that product? Because when it lets you down, it'll just be the wrong time. If you're not getting good support, you're going to be letting your customers down.
Yeah, and that's it. Price is only really, like, I know these companies out there that sell backup at like 0.007p per gig. And yeah, that's all well and good, but oh my God, when something goes wrong, it's going to be, they're going to lose a fair bit of customers when they get that back, when they're trying to get everything back.
There's 2 types of customers. You compare the meerkat type customers, just want the cheapest price, and maybe you set them up with Windows backup of a USB disk or something, because that's all they'll pay for and they won't listen to sense. Or you get your decent customers where you can explain the pros and cons, the lack of training, how well it works, the fact you can verify the backups. And they're the better customers to go for. And everyone's reluctant. I'm always reluctant to get rid of the cheap ones, because it's all money coming through the door, especially during the pandemic when revenues are down. But yeah, you get 2 types of customers. Just try and go for the better ones.
Yeah. And obviously moving on, Keith, just a couple more we've got.
So I'm just trying to answer Andy's question.
Oh, you spotted that, I didn't. Go on.
Put the chat box up. So Andy, to answer your question, servers way. So virtual machines. Sorry, you talking to John? But if you're talking to us, I mean the UK. I think VM server wise, I think it's about 80,000 in the UK or across Europe. Servers or virtual machines that we look after. 365 called. I don't know. I mean, I've got some in Holland that have got 4,500, 5,000 users from one company on them. So I wouldn't even like to take a guess. Endpoint is a new product for us. So we're only into probably, I would say, a few thousand at the moment, but it is growing at a rate of knots. But heck of a question. I actually wrote, wow, lots.
Just so everyone's aware, the question basically was how many endpoints, workstations in general have Altaro got? And yeah, if Keith can't answer that, I can't. I'm not even going to try. But yeah, keep your questions coming in, guys, and when we see them, we'll definitely ask it. And same with if you've got any questions for John, he's living it. He's an MSP who's actually leading with Altaro, but also he's got other products that he's trying to bundle in at the same time. So if there's anything that you need for his advice for, please reach out. I'm going to be honest, you've probably got no questions for me, so that's absolutely fine. Right, so moving on, just another few more on the support. It is just basically about the I'm going to try and say that word, the complicated, I don't know why that was such a difficult word to say, the complications of the product, and also the support is the main and two defining factors. One of the big issues that we see, and mentioned it before, is a lot of vendors do sprout from other countries, mainly the Americas, China, Middle East. These types of products may be well and good, but if the support doesn't back it, and it means that us in the UK has to wake up has to send an email ticket at 4 o'clock just to get an answer in the afternoon, it's not very good, which leads to you obviously waking up, staying up throughout the night just to resolve an issue. John, I'm sure from your point of view, you have products like that where sometimes it's, let's say, an American-based product, so you have to wait up until all hours of the night just to get some answers.
Yeah, we've got a Swedish phone company that's like that. We had an Indian backup company called Vembu. Support was difficult there. It was conversations where you couldn't really hear people. It's the epitome of the Indian call center. So yeah, I've been through all that. There's lots of it about.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And just to highlight, so they are the two most underlying common themes. So it's about the complex of the product, and it's also about the support. So what we did is we actually established what are, there's actually some more. Let me just have a read them. Yeah, another one regards to potential margins. Keith, I know we're going to go on to the pricing, but do you want to just highlight the actual potential margins that MSPs
I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover that in a deck because it's quite there's a whole raft of considerations about the margins that will go through.
Fair enough.
I will cover that if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine because I'm just aware of time. Obviously, I don't want to just sound like a broken record, just going over the same things.
Just a quick question. There's the referencing from Howard. Just the wider, Howard basically asked about KVM as a virtual backup product. We have no plans for KVM because KVM's had a very stilted life. He asked us about Zen, which is KVM based. Zen was KVM, then it went to Hyper-V. Now Citrix has gone back to KVM. It's all over the place. So we just don't see the need for it at the moment. If that changes and you guys push us to change it, we will do that. And that's one of the things the support guys will do. They'll take your comments and they will report it back into the product management, and we'll add functionality as we need it. So we need that intel from you guys. If it is becoming more relevant, shout. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Oh, very true. That's pretty much the philosophy I lead in life. So the worst they can say is no. That's another one I always talk about. Of course, you do need room to grow, and we asked the same 70 MSPs, and I think, John, you're going to be crucial to this as well. If you want to sell a backup, what are the little different ways in which customers actually go about doing so? There's so many MSPs. They're very, very good at being like reactive. When a customer wants you, they're very good at selling then. But it's how to be proactive in this competitive world. Some of the examples, John, I'm sure you've tried a few of these in the past. But just from your perspective, is there anything that you guys do when you're approaching a new company or an existing company? What processes do you follow to get the result you want?
Backups are a little bit more involved, and often we want people backing up servers and stuff. So the techers can give a free trial, a certain amount of engineering work, and if it's not broke, don't touch it. You don't know what state that server is going to be in, and if you start installing stuff on it and it breaks, you can ask yourself for trouble. So I don't do that. I've done it on a couple of endpoint laptops, and I've done it on Office 365 backups quite a bit, but on the server side, I don't do the free trial. But the fourth one there, bundle your backups, is really interesting. We put together a Cloud Basics package. Well, we've got a few, but the Cloud Basics, we put backup for their laptop, backup for the Office 365. We supply the Office 365 antivirus, patching, and support for a fixed monthly fee. That makes it really easy. When you give customers choices, when you give them options, they've got to take time to deliberate. They've got to choose. And when they've got to choose, it slows them down, or they don't choose, or they make the wrong choices. So if you make those choices for them, if you can pop together a little package like that suits your customer demographic, or just a chunk of it, a percentage of it, give it a name, you can sell that as a thing on its own. And they don't know what proportion that is the backup cost, what proportion is the Office 365. So if you look at, say the patching, how much time would you spend a month on patching? How much time would you spend checking the backups? How much time would you spend checking antivirus logs and stuff like that? That's got a value. But when you bring it down to a cost for a product plus a markup, you're crippling your opportunities to get a decent price for that package. When you stick it all together like this, it makes it easy to add some value. There's lots of extra things you can put in there, but we find that bundling the backups works really well. Every time we sell Office 365, by default, we stick Office 365 backup on it. And it just works. That's what's making sales for us.
Yeah, and I can't reiterate that enough. Just so everyone's aware, basically, I used to train BT staff on how to sell over the phone. And one of the most useful tools is to give them two options, both of which suit you. One might suit you more than the other, but you have to accept that both of them are classed as a win for you. So I've actually gone down the route of advising MSPs to have two products and class them as basic and premium, or standard and premium. And because of the terminology in the standard or basic, a lot of businesses, especially when it's something that they're passionate about, they do not like the fact that their business is classed as basic or standard. And so when they go and approach a customer, they will actually talk to them about, right, you've got option A, this is your basic. This is exactly what I would recommend at the very lowest level, so that you've got at least something in place. But what is more important to you, and you can add on all the bells and whistles, and you can give them all the pros, and to say this is our premium option, this is the one that 80% of our customers has already got. People unfortunately are like sheep, especially in the business world. They like knowing that they're buying in numbers. So you'll see with a lot of vendors, a lot of people won't trust a new starter. It's nothing to do about the technology. It's the fact that they haven't got volumes behind them that is stopping them from taking that leap. And if you can pivot your offering so that you can actually do a standard and a premium option, then you're just giving yourself a win-win situation. But you just need to be aware that if they choose one or the other, you cannot see it as a loss. It must be a win for you, because you've given them the two options, which means you're taking the margin home with you regardless. John, what type of actual, like, do you ever try and bundle it with Office 365 in general? Because
the Altaro Office 365 backup, every time we sell Office 365 now, we try and bundle that with it. It just, by default, we don't even ask. We just stick it on the quote. If someone queries it and they want to take it off, then they can do. But we just work from the point of view, you're getting this unless you say otherwise.
Yeah, that's fine. And
our customers' best interest, because they need it. I've
yeah.
seen so many Office 365 breaches in the last year, where your account gets breached, all your new mail's being directed to deleted items, or it's being deleted permanently, and then they use it to send out some sort of scam. And it does damage. Or you get people where they leave an organization, then the recruitment starts. 6 weeks later, a new member of staff's recruited. Meanwhile, that person, when they left, deleted loads of valuable information, and it's just not there. It doesn't get backed up on your server. It doesn't get backed up on your laptop, because often it's an OST and that's encrypted. At the end of the day, you need to back up your Office. So I see it as doing my customers. I'm working in their interest and giving them what they need, not necessarily what they ask for or what they want, but I'm offering what they need up front. And if they choose not to, then sometimes I've gone to them with a bit of disclaimer saying, sign here, say you're aware of the problems if you don't do it. But just by default, stick it on there.
And that's it. And like that's on the next slide as well. So of other methods, just on this page, there's a lot of MSPs who give out gift vouchers if a customer takes any product, competitions, and you can target those competitions so that you can. It's not really morally correct, but you can tailor who you want to win them, depending on how you want to do things. Another reason why customers grow and do it is they sign up for the product at the very bare bones and minimum, and then they offer it, even though they're paying for it, they offer it as a free trial to their customers, because everybody loves something that's free. The majority on it are British, and we all know what a good freebie's like. And that is something that can resonate with end users to grow as well. John, you obviously mentioned this, signing disclaimers. It is close to selling on the face of fear, but it actually is so valid at the moment, because there's so many breaches about at the moment. Left, right, and centre. This is something. Sorry, I've just seen the Joey thing in the corner here. This slide wasn't designed by me, so it came as a bit as a surprise. But yeah, so I understand exactly. And do you ever, John? Do you ever like set individual targets within business? So what I mean by that is we had feedback where they will pinpoint a company, but they'll go after a portion of that company, i.e. the highest paid people, because they're the most important. So do you ever do partial sales within a company, or just do you try and do all or nothing?
Generally, it's all or nothing. I'm a firm believer that sometimes you've got to make a sale to then win a customer, to then sell what you really want them to buy. So as you can get a foot in the door, and there's many foot in the doors. We had one just last week, and they said, "Can you come and patch a few wires?" And I patched around and make our phones work. But that's got us in there. We've got 25 Office 365 licenses and backups and a whole load of stuff off the back of that. So a foot in the door, but no, I don't ever target a portion. I might target a person to start the conversation, but really you need all or nothing. If you're going to look after a company and look after the security as well, you can't have some PCs that are secure and some that could be compromised and infect the rest of the network. It's got to be all or nothing in the space where I work.
Yeah, and do you lead with the security? Is that what you're there? Is that what you see as a priority for you and your offering, or
no? I stick that on as an extra. I meet the immediate needs, because security is a bit like backups in that it's viewed like insurance. It's nice to have, but it doesn't give you any bottom line. So if you give them a new PC that's faster, their staff work better, they get more productivity. But security and backups, like insurance, they only help you when something goes wrong, essentially. So what I'll do is I'll put my offering across and then point out how this also increases security, how it also increases their stance with GDPR. And most customers are not GDPR compliant, but I say by doing the things I'm advising you to, your IT will be pretty much there. These are the basics, and over time we can fine tune you and hone you. You can't go with too much at once, so you can't.
Yeah. Oh, John, we've just lost you, mate.
And if what you're already offering is putting them a few stepping stones on the way, then shout about it and tell them that. Say this makes you more secure, makes you more compliant. You're going to have less problems from rogue staff. And so I use it as the add-on, as the, when you make a sale and then you add a bit to it. That's the bit I add on sometimes.
Yeah, I think the power's in cross-selling, isn't it? Like more often than not, the product that you actually want to sell it comes second in nature. They'll actually choose something something else first as a priority, and you just have to work with the customers. Keith, now, John, is there any other ways, just before I hand over to Keith, just to show the guys what Altaro is about, is there any other ways that you've got where you try and grow this as a priority for you? I don't mean just in Altaro in general, I just mean any particular advice that you've got for other MSPs listening?
Just make backup and security, data security, traditional security, make that just part of your offering. Make that one of the things you always consider when you speak to a client. You won't always get that extra sale, but at least they trust that you've got your interests in mind. If you don't mention backup and security and somebody else does, then you're the numpty, because you're not looking after them as a customer. You're just trying to sell them something. So by mentioning backups and security and showing that you're hot on it but not pushing it, it helps you win that customer, and then you can sell it as an add-on at a later date if they're not into it straight away. And that works quite well for us.
Yeah, and one of the things that one of the MSPs have started doing, that's spoken to yesterday, which didn't get thrown into this slide deck quick enough, was they've actually started implementing either monthly or quarterly reviews. Not every MSP does it, but to have that consistency of a customer's expectations being set before you've even spoken a word can pay dividends in the end. If you're having a regular meeting with them regarding their own infrastructure, it opens up so many avenues if it's set periodically as to how you want to sell and what you want to sell at that given time. Now, Keith, I know obviously you've been answering a couple of questions in the background when me and John's been flirting, should we say. Do you just want to go over what you've been answering and then run through with us? I think I might need to give you...
yeah, you do. So before you do that, let me just quickly go through. So Dale asked a question, which was, do we offer support for SBS 2011 and 2008 R2? So if you talk about the main VM backup products, we're backing up the virtual machine. So the operating system that is sat within that system is supported as long as it's supported within the VM. With SBS 2020, if it's on a physical machine, we can back the physical machine up. The problem we're going to have with that is that I think Microsoft have ended the support for it. So if there are problems down the line, it's going to be sort of bigger problems because they're trying to basically force everybody onto 365. So if it's on a virtual machine, it's not a problem. If it's on a physical, it's kind of going to become more and more of a problem. That was the first one. And the second one was, do Altaro or QBS offer any sort of onboarding assistance when displacing existing backup service vendor, for example, in order to ensure backup continuity, we're moving between solutions. So my line is that we will do that on a case-by-case basis. We don't normally get asked for it, but we're happy to oblige and happy to help.
Brilliant.
So we're always happy to work with you guys.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to, just before I hand it over to you, Keith, and I've got to ask, your picture, which is on that screen?
Yes.
Is that you being caught in the moment, or have you posed?
No, I was being a dickhead. You want me to answer?
I had to ask because when I seen it, I was like, I'm sure he's definitely posed.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been a douche. Don't. I do have a sense of humour.
Right, so I'm gonna make you.
Yep, if you could please. I'm
Right,
going to have to fly through this. So.
Yeah, don't worry. You've got about 10 minutes, and it actually gives me a bit of time. You've probably seen me looking around. I've actually got my special guest, which is a cat, wandering around my feet. So it's definitely a good Zoom call. So while Keith's talking, I'm gonna scutt her, get her out of the room.
Just going to quickly go to that. Right, please tell me that's seen.
I've just stopped share. I've just ended the share. So if you share, there you go.
Come up.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, fine. So look, I'm going to fly through this quite quickly because I'm just cognizant of time. But what I've tried to do is put together bits and pieces that will be relevant for you guys to use within the sales cycle and actually where you can make money that go through. So one of the biggest things that we always get asked, and this goes back to the statement I made earlier, is backup is forgotten as a technology. It's just pushed to one side because it's very, very old. I mean, backup is as old as data as compute itself. You know, you've always had backup, and whether it was punch cards right the way through to what we have today, and therefore people get blasé about it. So you just need to take to consideration and rethink about what data, because you're not backing up machines, you're backing up data, and how important is that data to your client? And actually, it's not about the data; it's about the recovery, because you don't want backup until you've basically brown thing hit spinning thing. Suddenly, backup now becomes the most important thing you need to do. So that's where the importance that comes from. So just to quickly talk about what we're trying to achieve as a business, and then I'll talk about how you make some money on the back of the business and how we work into it. Everything we do is based around 4 core values. Everything has to be simple to use, which goes back to you don't need to have excessive training on the product. You don't have to have excessive knowledge. You just have to be able to follow the way that the product's implemented. It is about support. The company mantra is 30 seconds. I said we're normally around 10. We're failing at the moment because we're at 15, but that's because I come from the days when we could do it in 10 seconds. We've got more customers now, so it makes it a bit different. But at the end of the day, it is about outstanding support. We don't market in things like CRM and that sort of thing. We do it through educational marketing. So if you go onto our website, go onto the blogs, there is a whole plethora of information that you can have access to free of charge, that is from industry leaders worldwide that are MVPs and the rest of it, and CDPs and blah, 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 so all these acronyms that will go through. And the last thing, from a company standpoint, we only sell via partners. We will never take business direct. It is always about you guys. It's about how we support you, how we look after you, whether that's done via distribution as it is in the UK, or whether we have to do direct partners, for example, in North America. But it's always through channel partners. So that's the mantra of the company that we run through. And then from a company offering standpoint, we offer Server Stack, we offer 365, that's what we've covered about today. We've just implemented Endpoint, which I'm probably not going to have time to talk about. And then we're also going to be adding Azure Backup at the end of the year. The reason being is that we're seeing everybody moving to a hybrid environment. And that's really where we're heading to. And that's what we're trying to cover off to make sure, and it's all managed via the CMC, which I'll cover in a second. And what we're really heading for is backup as a service. That's what we're trying to be able to give you as a company, that you can go to your clients and offer backup as a service. And that's the implementation of APIs into the back end of your billing system, or whether you don't have one, you need to use the CMC, which I'll cover in a second. Okay. And then the caveats that we talk about is around support. I think we've covered that off. But again, when you get the slide deck, you'll have this as a referral point. So you're going to hear us talking about MSP as a business, and when you read it on our website, you'll talk about it as MSP. We are talking about a monthly subscription program, not as two managed service providers. Unfortunately, acronyms are the same. So whenever we talk about MSP, we're talking about subscription, we're talking about monthly fee. And to keep things very, very simple, we don't stick you with a 12-month or 2-year or 10-year contract, and we don't ask you for how many you're going to do. We don't do this, we don't do that. It is a rolling low point entry relationship that we enter in with QBS and yourselves, where you get billed for what you consume, and if you don't consume it, you don't get billed unless it's under the minimums for the requirement. And to try and give you an idea, with the VM backup, well, the server stack product, it's 10 virtual machines. That can be across 10 customers. So the entry point is really, really low. And then if you want to stop the contract, you just tell QBS and we stop it. We're not going to argue with you. We're not going to do stuff. We're just going to try and, what we don't want to do is start getting legals involved and lawyers and this, you contract and you said, who said, and we said, and what said. It's just about trying to be grown up. You do your mobile phone, you sign up for a service. If you want to stop the service, you stop the service. There's no great fusses behind it. And all that is powered from the CMC. So, and I'm going to show you the CMC in a second, but basically the CMC is a complete overlay tool that is multi-tenanted that runs all of our software remotely. To try and give you an idea of the power of the CMC, we have a shipping company run out of Denmark that deals with bulk ore carriers. These are the 2,000-ton ships. They have 2 data centers on each ship. They're all managed from Copenhagen via satellite link via the CMC. So that could be any customer anywhere in the world. So it gives you reach across anywhere in the world. And if you can beam it to the moon, you could do it to the moon. But it gives you that flexibility of whether it's the next town, the next village, the next county, the next country. You know, we don't mind. The CMC will give you that flexibility. So I'm just cognizant of time, so we'll do it. So I'm going to break this into 2. I'll do the server stack, or how you make money on the server stack, and then I'll do the 365, why you need to look at 365, and I'll show you the product, and I'll do that very, very quickly. So server stack. The revenue streams, there are effectively 4 revenue streams that you can earn from this product. There's the product itself, the margin. There's the managed services powered by the CMC. Then there's the disaster recovery and business continuity suites that you can build into the product. And then there's the storage, because wherever there's data, there's got to be storage, and I'll cover that. So with the main product, and this is where I'll talk about the pricing. If we talk about the virtual backup, we charge per VM per month. The price is £4 per VM per month. We have an average sellout of between £12 and £14 that a partner will sell out across our partner stack. Therefore, the margins that are available to you guys is around 200%. You may have to scale that back slightly if it's a large customer, but at the end of the day, when you're talking about installing our product, which is as simple as installing it on a virtual machine within the customer's environment, that's got the latest it's got a 64-bit Windows operating system, the latest version of .NET, and some disk, because we'll always back up to primary disk first, which is what you see an example in the screen. That's it. It will go through, and then at that point you manage it you hook it to the CMC, you manage it from the CMC. That's the simplicity we'll bring to it. If you want to know more about it, I'm going to give you the QR code to download the product. You can actually play with the product and do it yourself. Okay. We alluded to with the CMC, but the great thing is the CMC gives you the ability, if you don't have an RMM in place or you've got very minimal monitoring systems, it allows you to monitor your customers on behalf for their own protection. That service is free of charge to you, but that service is chargeable by you to your clients. So you can make money by charging your clients for something that we give you free of charge. It's as simple as that. So not only do you now have a revenue stream from the product, you now have a revenue stream from managing your client. So you're having that closer relationship with your client and bringing it forward. Then once you've got the products installed and you've got it up and running with the client, you can now start looking at value adds, or you can start adapting and looking at it. So what you could do is you could have a bronze level business continuity disaster recovery offering where you could offer the client the ability to have a cloud offering. So this could be Azure, it could be AWS, it could be Wasabi, but it's integrated into the product. It is a simple add. You just fire up an Azure blob. You get the hexadecimal code. You put it into the client site. It links. It's done. You don't have to have a degree in IT sciences to do it. You just put this hexadecimal code in that you get from Azure, and it's the same with Wasabi, and it's the same with AWS. So you've now offered your client the next stage in their evolution of their backup strategy. Now, if you then want to take it to the next stage, we give you as an MSP a piece of code called the offsite server. The offsite server allows you to either replicate into another data center. That could be yours, or it could be a managed, it could be your client's. But suddenly you now can add additional functionality. So now it's not a repository. Now you have the ability to instantly boot the backup in a DR site. You have the ability to encrypt. You have the full-blown replication, which now takes in consideration CDP, which is continuous data recovery, which is now going to reduce your RTOs completely down to the client. So suddenly you've now got a mid-level DR offering to your client. The great thing is, you charge for that, but we've given you that free of charge. It's about you implementing that service into your client base. And then you could go for the gold standard, which allows you to basically have not only cloud storage, but also then have a replicated or a secondary replicated copy, because that gives you the ultimate and the best RTO and RPO. But what it really does, it is following the 3-2-1 rule that you want for backup. And that's what we give you. And they said that is completely built in the software. That's what you get for your £4 per month to your client. You can build a practice around it. And the great thing is if you choose to go with the offsite server, great, it's fantastic. It's multi-tenanted, so you can actually have multiple clients going into it, and you can go through from there. And then, as I alluded to before, wherever there is data that has to be storage, we can deal with NAS, SAN, DAS, cloud, as I said, Wasabi, AWS or Azure, or we can deal with USB if you need to. Well, I would say USB is USB 3 for the data transfer rate, because we are only as good as the slowest part of the functionality that we go through. So that's the server stack done and dusted. Okay, not done. I've done that in five minutes, so I do really well. So 365. Reasons for doing 365. Okay, there's a misconception that, as I put there, 365 backs up your data. The basic answer is no, it doesn't. And there's a huge disclaimer in Microsoft's T's and C's that in the event of a problem, basically it's your client's problem, not yours as an MSP and not Microsoft's. It's buried in the T's and C's, and it's on the screen. You can read it yourself. But Microsoft are not complete bad guys in this whole thing. What they do is they have this thing called shared responsibility. And what shared responsibility basically says is that we'll deal with the application infrastructure and the network. The data access and the data security is down to your users. And that's where backup comes under it. It's the data security comes under that umbrella. Therefore, it's responsibility of your users, which by default means you, to manage the backups for your clients. Okay, so you have to do it. Now, the reason this causes a problem is actually the confusion comes from Microsoft themselves. And if you look at the Microsoft cloud model, is that originally 365 was sold as software as a service. And this alluded to what we talked about earlier, which is it was sold when it was Outlook and Excel and Word, and it was just a package that instead of buying Office, you would buy this. What's happened is it's morphed, and it's morphed into platform as a service. But people are still stuck with its software as a service. It's not, it's a platform. And the argument we sometimes have with clients is that if you had an Exchange server on site, would you not back that up? You wouldn't leave that, no. So why would you not do the same? Just because it's in somebody else's cloud or somebody else's compute is irrelevant. It's got to be part and parcel of the thing. And Microsoft do exactly the same. They say the data responsibility is you. The data responsibility is you. Platform, it's you. Software as a service, they say it's them, but that's just the way of the world. So what we did is there's just some considerations that you can use as sales arguments that you can do with your clients. So it just goes around the fact that unstructured data generation within software as a service based applications is outside of your disaster recovery option. So that's just an argument you can use with a client. There's the misconception that software as a service is historically safe. The end of the day, I think Microsoft guarantee 2 nines, which I think they've got an outage of about 8 days in a given year. Depends on which T's and C's you're looking at. But at the end of the day, they don't guarantee 100% uptime. They'll always guarantee there will be a downtime, and they don't guarantee the fact that there'll be problems. Again, you get this deck, so you can read it for yourself. You need to bring 365 under the governances that you've followed historically, because SharePoint and OneDrive are changing the rules, because the ownership of the data is now more flexible, is now out with the users. So therefore the elements for mistakes come into a lot more. So therefore the governances have to change, and you've got to articulate that governance change to your clients. The other thing is that things like GDPR have changed the rules, because we've now got 365 on our phones. People use a lot more personal data on their phones, and therefore it becomes a blurred mixture of what's private and what is corporate, and therefore the rules change. And we've had instances where people have deleted their email accounts and they've left businesses because they've got personal data on it, but it wasn't their data to delete in the first place. But because the control is with the individual and not with the company, they can delete the data. If you don't have a backup, you can't get it back. So what it means is that there's just 3 areas that you need to drive through. So you need to look at unauthorized data access. So that's the ransomwares, malwares, third-party illicit attacks. That's what backup is protecting you from. It's also protecting you from human error, whether that be malicious or accidental. You know, we've all lost an attachment to an email that you go back a month later and go, oh, I needed that report. I've lost it because I deleted it. Then I've emptied my delete box. With COVID and everybody working from home, we've now put 365 on more non-corporate machines because there was a shortage of machines. You've got employees overriding data because on SharePoint they can, on OneDrive they can. Mergers and acquisitions, it's just a nightmare. So you get 2 companies merging together. You want to merge the 2 accounts. Sometimes that goes horribly wrong. If it does, you've lost the data. And then you've got the limitations of things like e-discovery. The amount of people that seem to think litigation hold is a backup solution. 1, it's only available on E3 and above, and 2, it is not, it's litigation hold. And then there's some native functionality errors that go through. But the last one is, how much time and effort are you wasting trying to get an email back from Microsoft where you could get it back instantaneously? How much is it costing your business to do that? So with that in mind, very, very orange. Cool, I've done sort of cracking on quite well. So let me go to this. So is my screen still up, Dan?
It is, yeah. Just curious of time, mate, now. So
Yeah. Well, you're the one that's talking much. So if we look to 365,
I've been told.
So if we look at 365, so you saw that that's the CMC that it shows. It's one panel that deals with all 3 products. And I have to say, now that I'm on Zoom, it's absolutely killed my internet connection completely. As you can see by the fact it says loading. So once that's loading through, the demo could get held because I think Zoom's killed me. Okay, I love it when things go wrong. So if you want a demo, we'll talk to Dan afterwards when you stop making a movie, and we can I'll actually show you. I'll do a demo 1-to-1 for you just because of the connectivity. So just whilst on the screen, there's 3 QR codes that can allow you to download test drives for the software. So if you want to do the virtual machine for the server stack, do the top one. If you want to do the 365, it's the middle one. If you want to do endpoint, sorry I haven't talked about endpoint, but I was just cognizant at the time. Just click the QR codes. I'll leave those up for a second. Hopefully your screen resolution is good enough to pick the QR codes up. All we'd need from you when you sign up is just a proper company email address that you're going to use, and your full name. We will then pick up the fact that you're a QBS customer, and we'll make sure that QBS is informed of the fact. It's a fully functioned 30-day test for the products. It comes with full support. It comes with absolutely everything you need to do. So with that, there you go. I've done that.
Keith, can you just transfer it back for me?
Of course I can, mate. So there's what everybody wants.
Yeah, and what we'll do, guys, is we'll make sure those Q codes as well are being sent from ourselves as well, just to make sure that everybody's got them. But I'm just going to share my screen one last time just so that we can end it on a little bit of a high. So thanks, obviously, for Keith and his words. Now, anybody who, this price list, we will send it to you. Don't worry, there's nothing hidden. It's very reasonable. You don't have to worry about anything, but we will get it out to you. So don't try and worry about writing it down very quickly before a skip. But the main reason is anybody who wishes to download a trial and use it will get £50. Will get a £50 Amazon voucher, courtesy of Altaro.
As long as they've attended this webinar, it's not open to anybody.
Yeah. So just purely for you guys specifically, if you download a trial and use it, you will be granted with a £50 Amazon voucher. More on top of that, when you're actually a customer of ours and sign up with Altaro, we will double it. We will give you another £50 on top of that. And I just want to end with John. Why us and why Altaro? From your perspective, and this is not scripted, guys. We've not paid him to say this. He's literally, we've just worked together for years, so I know.
Is that not coming through to my bank now? I'm joking. Yeah, I've tried loads of products over the years. I've been doing this 20 years. We was using something, well, we're using Cloud Finder for a little while, and it's all right. You log in, you sign up, you stick in your Office 365, 30 user network. 3 days later, it nearly finished backing them all up and imported them to get the base point. When I tried Altaro, within an hour, they're all fully backed up. They're on there. The interface was slick. It worked, and that sold it to me. So now we don't use Cloud Finder or any of the other things, but we're only using Altaro for this. So that was like an eye opener. And like I alluded to before, generally if people put quality into one part of a product, it goes all the way through. So that's how I judge things. So yeah, that's why I use Altaro. And obviously you guys, everything I get that I can get through Zsphere or QBS now, I get through you guys. I don't like to have lots of suppliers, and you guys look after us. You get us great deals on the prices. You every so often pop up and go, "Here's a new product. You want to give it a try? Have a look at this," and it just saves us a whole lot of time and effort looking for products to fill gaps and going through stuff. But yeah, Altaro, it just works. That's why I like it.
Yeah, and just from our point of view as well, since launch, it's absolutely flying. There's not many products that do very well in the MSP when it comes to launch. Lots of them come up with too big of a hurdle for one reason or another, but Altaro is something that our customers are loving. We're also finding that we are constantly being talking to people who's used it for years as well, so we know it's got a longevity with it. And yeah, £50 Amazon voucher, guys, and if you sign up you get another one as well. Yeah, could be an early Christmas present, who knows. Keith, any final words, mate, before we shut this down?
No, other than I'm going to kill Virgin because it's killed my internet, but there we go, or Zoom, one of the two. But thank you very much. But genuinely, if you do want me to demo the product, just let Danny know, and we can just do it one-to-one. Yeah,
and with the one-to-one demos, guys, it is something that we see a lot of success in because it's on you, the highlights on you, so you can ask the questions that you want. You don't have to be in the background waiting for your turn. So I would highly recommend it. Keith's lovely. He's not scary at all. So we can easily get you onto a demo to talk about the VM side, the Office 365, or the endpoint. Same with John. If you've got any MSP related questions about the experience, the day-to-day life, John's already open to having a couple of conversations and just giving a bit of advice. And from my side as well, like I said, I used to train people how to sell off. So if there's any objections that you're coming up against regularly, just let me know and I can just tell you what knowledge I've got and you can use it or not. It's up to you. But apart from that, guys, thank you very much for attending. I apologise for being 10 minutes late. I'm not going to blame myself because that would be too good. So I'm going to blame Keith for taking ages.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely day. And if you need us, you know where we are, but we will be in touch, okay?
Lovely. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Take care now. Bye-bye.